Hi peeps, Brett here. So update on principally coaching and coaching to clients at the moment. That's the fundamental purpose of this video. So bear with me, get through the first phase if you can, give me a couple of minutes, and should you choose to then listen to the rest of the video, that's great, but please give me a couple of minutes if you can. So first of all, a huge congratulations to those people, those clients, finishing up on the summer program, the summer phase. I know it's a bit late, we're already into autumn, but that's okay. I should say that this has been an unusual and really satisfying period. Maybe for me, it's always about me. Maybe for me because the individual programs, both Australia-wide, even internationally, and the summer phase, what I call the summer phase, have all aligned pretty damn well. So what that basically means is a lot of people kind of started at the same time on their programs and they're finishing about the same time. And a lot of the programming goals for individuals are very similar across these phased periods and individual programs. And that's unusual. That's not happened to me in 30 years where there's kind of been a start at about the same time and finishing of programs about the same time. It's pretty unusual. And it's been really satisfying because it's kind of en masse, people are kind of reaching personal bests and achieving goals about the same time. Of course, people start and stop on their individual programs all throughout the year, but this is just one of those occasions after 30 years where it's been a lot of starts and stops about the same time. So, and again, that's just an unusual thing, doesn't mean anything, but from a coaching point of view, it's kind of really cool. So again, congratulations to those people on the summer program and all programs that are completing that phase at the moment. What I essentially want to talk about in this video is how we move into the mid-year. And again, that's kind of a general scope of what's happening around about now through autumn, winter. This is kind of a seasonal aspect to training, whether your goals are fat loss, recomposition, lean muscle gain, doesn't really matter because it's a kind of a seasonal thing. They kind of align that way. And I will talk about that more specifically in a second. Okay, so for those people that have gone through the summer Centric program, I just want to go over the 7 points of which were covered during that program and what that was about. So it's kind of a summary of what that summer period was about. Now, I've spoken individually to people about this as well, but I thought this is a good opportunity to kind of throw out what we do in seasonal-based phases. So the first part, of the summer program, was to introduce a rep-based progression. So a lot of the time, progression is based on weight, and that was the previous period, which was spring, summer, the early part of summer. That was based on weight-based progression, which is the fundamental building blocks of all the programs to do with recomposition, fat loss and lean muscle gain, hypertrophy. That's pretty much the best way to do it. It's the simplest way to do it. Rep-based is slightly different. So that was the first part of this last program. The second part was introducing different energy systems. So people are now working out of the anaerobic system, which is lower repetitions, and moving into the alactic acid and the lactic acid systems. I know this is all very geeky stuff, but bear with me. So that's more metabolic training. Okay. The third part, there are different ways to gain muscle. There are different ways to build strength and structure. There are different ways to sculpt the body. There's not just one way. Weight-based progression, in my opinion, is the best way, but it's not the only way. And I think with people who are new to weight training and new to this form of training in general, it's good to try different aspects, to try different formulas, to try different techniques, see what works for them. So this one is, again, more metabolic. And what some people will do is I'll find they've responded really well to that rep-based progression, that high number of repetitions, and some people less so. But it's also got other benefits to it outside of just pure lean muscle gain. It's also, point 4, a great opportunity to refine your lifting technique in all the major lifts. So there are occasions when we did multiple sets, 3 sets, and you're doing up to 15, 16, 17 repetitions per set, and you're getting that 50 reps or so to really hone your technique, to really practice and refine your technique. And this type of training period, the summer program, really allowed that to happen really well. So you get a great chance to get your skill base up on all your main lifting movements. It's also a fantastic point 5, opportunity to increase your muscular endurance. And that has a big knock-on effect outside of the gym for things like landscaping, heavy-duty gardening, where you're kind of doing that push-pull, quite physical stuff, and through a long period of time, maybe a few hours. That's muscular endurance, where you need those muscles to perform throughout the day. So it's a great training mechanism to support that. Point 6, it's also a great opportunity to recover from the previous format, which was very heavy. So this is lighter weights, more repetitions. So you get that chance to recover from that load, which can impact some people more than others, depending on your work, your lifestyle, what's happening with your family, what's happening in life in general. So it's a good break from that. And the last point is it was a really good opportunity to refine aspects of nutrition and calorie burn to hopefully increase nutrition, your intake of food, and how much you need to burn to counter that. So it was a great opportunity to also refine that a bit further. So that period has finished, and what I'm looking at now is moving into the next phase, which is the mid-year phase. So from a coaching perspective and how that works, and why am I talking about summer phases? Why am I talking about mid-year phases? Well, that comes back to an ASCA coach, which is my background, Australian Sports and Conditioning Association. That's a sports-based mentality. It's about how we think about the year, how we think about goals, how we think about performance. We kind of break it into blocks. And that's really important because it gives you structure and it gives you goals, it gives you challenges, things to aim for throughout the year. And creating these blocks, I think, is really important. These blocks have kind of central ideas to them. They have variety or variation. They incorporate recovery, they incorporate challenge, and they incorporate growth. And some of the blocks integrate multiples of those, some are just purely about those. It depends on your background and what your goals are. As 2 main examples of that and how that's important to create these blocks, and the overriding umbrella idea of this is called periodization. Well, not idea, formula for this is periodization. You periodize the year into segments depending on what you're trying to achieve. Now, a good example of that is an athlete. Maybe an athlete that performs at a very high level in competition, maybe once, twice, 3 times a year. Okay? So each one of those periods of performance is scheduled in. It's a very known fact, it's a date. And then as a coach, as an ASCA coach, we would then seek to get that athlete to perform at their best on that day. So we then create structure before that in segments, mesocycles, and the whole idea of the whole year is a macro cycle. And within those mesocycles or blocks, we're trying to create different results: recovery, strength, conditioning, etc., and specificity. Now, that's for an athlete. So what that allows them to do then is when they enter those competitions, they're performing at their best. And we've created the structure all the way through the year to allow that to happen. Now, if you're not what you might call performing in competitions, like most people training here aren't, why is this relevant? Because that structure can be used just as well when we're looking for our own personal goals, whether that be to lose body fat, whether that's to put on lean muscle, to recompose, to get stronger, to get fitter, it doesn't matter. If we have this structure in place, it gives us more opportunity to succeed. It gives us challenges which we can overcome, and it's more sustainable, it's more motivating, it's more inspiring, right? It works really well. But that's an unusual thing to do, to incorporate these professional performance-based kind of structures into fitness programs. It's a very unusual thing to do. So when there's no real competition, how do you do it? So I kind of do it seasonally. 4 seasons in the year. You could say there's 4 blocks in the year or 4 mesocycles. Not quite that simple, but that's kind of the way I'd like to think about it and express it to you right now. So that's why I'm talking about the summer phase. That's why now I'm talking about the mid-year, autumn, winter phase, because they're blocks or mesocycles. And they kind of have different aspects to them, right? So this mid-year phase, obviously we're in the southern hemisphere, so it's now relating to autumn, winter. For those people watching this, clients watching this that are online, Australia-based, it will still apply to you. Clients who are overseas, maybe in the northern hemisphere, this is obviously not the autumn-winter phase, but it is a mid-year phase. So we can twist that around for your summer applications. Okay? So for the sake of this video though, I'm going to talk about Australia-based southern hemisphere clients who've got the autumn-winter phase now coming up, or mid-year. What I've done is I've kind of broken that into 3 stages through this block of training, through this mesocycle. All right, stick with me. So what I want to do, I've got notes here because I don't want to preamble on too much more than I have to. So the mid-year program has 3 main factors in it. The first one is blending the 2 previous formats together. Now, the 2 previous formats was the summer program, or for many of you, higher repetition-based, reps increase, not weight increases. So it's a metabolic training, not a lighter format of training. That would be unfair to say that. Still hard, but not as load-bearing, right? So I want to incorporate that. Number 2, I want to further refine nutrition programs for people and your calorie burn. For a lot of people, that will mean eating more, but still balancing body fat and their own personal goals to that end, okay? Also, maybe this is a separate point altogether, but I'll bring it into nutrition. Also looking at certain supplements that are well established, well researched, well understood, not performance enhancement drugs, nothing like that. That's not what I deal with. I'm completely natural and always will be. So this is creatine. Now, if you've never heard of it, I know it sounds a bit weird, but creatine has been around since I started training. Incredibly safe. There's absolutely hundreds, if not thousands, of articles being done on creatine. It's very cheap. It's a very, very good supplement, okay? Particularly for weight training oriented metrics. It increases strength, it increases muscularity, it increases recovery. It's just a tremendous supplement. Now, I don't encourage people to use it. I don't use it. But there are phases where you can. And I think this period coming up through the mid-year, there is a certain part of or stage through this program, through the mid-year program, where I think it could be very useful, and I can talk to people individually about that. Again, supplementation. That's kind of the general idea of it. Part 3 is a really important phase, that mind-muscle connection. Why do sometimes when we do movements, more strength-based movements, it's an outcome. We want to move a weight from there to there. Right? We don't really care how we do it, we just do it. That's strength-based. But hypertrophy and lean muscle gains and understanding the human body and how we move, the biomechanics of the body, is that mind-muscle connection. We need to understand that better. Okay? So I want to spend the first phase, first 10 sessions, the first 5 weeks on that. Okay? And that will have a certain structure to it, and then we move into phase 2, or stage 2, and then stage 3. Now, stage 3 is, for some people who want to do it, it'll be 5 repetitions, and it'll be almost a pure strength-based phase. So we'll finish the progression part 2, and part 3 is only 2 weeks, basically 4 sessions. We can drop the reps down to 5 and just do strength-based training. It won't be for everyone, it'll be an option. Okay? So that's kind of the 3 stages. The first stage, mind-muscle connection. The second stage is weight-based progression with emphasis on balancing up nutrition, maybe supplementation. And the third phase is pure strength-based training. Now, of course, all of this is balanced with your goals, okay? And some people will not actually enter this program at all and have no need to do it. But many people are kind of starting again about the same time. So I've kind of got this idea of periodization or mid-year kind of theme that'll help accentuate your own goals, if that makes sense. All right, so let me talk a bit more about the first phase or the first stage of the mid-year training. It'll be a 12 rep count, progressively increasing weight. The reps will not change, the weight will go up, and that will work for 5 weeks, 10 sessions. Again, this is about the mind-muscle connection, about proprioceptive training, understanding how muscles work as best we can. I don't want to spend too long on it, and for some people it's not that interesting, but it can be really useful for the future, and it can give you that extra 5% that you kind of get anyway. You might as well just try and explore the options of it and see how it goes. Regardless of whether you get that mind-muscle connection in all movements, particularly like back and chest, it doesn't really matter. It will help if you do get it. Some ways of thinking about this too is sometimes referred to in popularist journalism and popularist reports as the pump, okay? It's kind of like that, but that is a bit superficial. It's a little bit more important than that. But anyway, the pump is a good way of thinking about that stage 1. What we're trying to do is, point 2, is maximize muscle fiber activation, okay? And that's what my muscle connection can do, but also overload training. Lots of overload training in phase 1. And overload training is where we might couple a specific movement, like a bench press, with a push-up, okay? So as soon as you finish a bench press, straight on the ground, push up. And that is an immediate overload and a really symbiotic exercise that works really well with that main compound movement, the bench press, then bang, on the floor, bodyweight movement to overload. So that will be an overload technique for some people for the bench press. There are other systems we've used in the past and will continue to use because they work really well, like drop sets, like isometric holds, like cluster sets, partials. Now, if these phases mean nothing to you, that's okay. Some people have used them, some people haven't, but I'll explain them as we need to. In this phase also is less rest time. We move faster through multiple sets. So there's a bit more of a calorie burn, which is kind of nice. And this is where, towards the end of this phase, we start increasing calories again, because this is a lean muscle gain phase for those people who are looking to do that, which a lot of people are at the moment. Again, it's that kind of perfect storm. So we start to increase calorie intake carefully. The second stage of the mid-year program goes into 8 reps. This is well understood by a lot of people who've done this before. It's progressively increasing weight to gain new maximums, new PRs. The previous PRs you've got, we're going to blow them out of water. We're going to do better, okay? We're going to be stronger. As a result, that mechanical load is going to introduce more lean muscle tissue, more firmness in the body, more strength, more resilience. It's kind of the meat and veg part of the mid-year program. That goes for 10 weeks, okay? So in this phase, we're looking to refine and perfect the most important facets of your physique, okay? We really want to get the best out of your body we possibly can. We also want to get those new challenges and those new goals to attain new personal bests on all lifts, okay? We also want to improve the fundamental techniques of our lifting on those really important moves like the deadlifts, like the Romanian deadlifts, the stiff-legged deadlifts, and the standard deadlifts. We want to get better at them. They are really athletic movements. We want to get better, okay? So I know I'm talking about the lifts now, but the lifts also work well to improve your life and your outcomes. So being more skillful at them, it just makes sense. Okay, still checking my notes here. This is, in my opinion, the best formula, format, technique, methodology for lean muscle gains, hypertrophy or hypertrophy, depending on where you come from, and to create structural integrity in the body overall. Lots of health outcomes here, reducing osteoporosis, all this stuff where we load the body carefully, injury-free. There's been 0 injuries here, and that will continue, but we can still push hard, okay? We also look at improving the outcomes from managing that calorie intake and further nuancing it, right? Incorporating creatine about this time for those people who are interested in supplementation. Not everyone is, that's fine. I don't believe in much of it. In fact, if you're going to entertain having better performance, you always have to think about sleep. You have to think about hydration. There's lots of stuff. Creatine is just one thing. It's easy to take. There's no side effects apart from positive. And it can be something worth exploring. Why not? Third stage, again, at the third stage, it's just towards the end of the program. It's going to be those new personal bests. We make sure that our recovery is optimized. We've got our nutrition bang on. We've got the amount of training frequency. You may not be training on certain exact days of the week. We might have to broaden that out a bit so you get more recovery. Just for some people, right towards the end. So you might have a few more days to recover. Now, right towards the end, we might have that abbreviated period of strength training for 2 weeks, 4 sessions, where we just concentrate on 5 reps. Now, not everyone will want to do that. That's okay. But if you're interested in exploring how strong you can be, this is a fantastic time to go heavy, right? Safely. Everything I do here is about safety. You know that. So going heavy still isn't mindless. All right. So I know there's lots to take in there. That was a over 20-minute video. So if you've stuck along this far, I appreciate it. Of course, I'll be talking to everyone individually about their own programs, their own outcomes, but I did want to give in detail what I'm looking to offer during mid-year and what I think is possible, and explore for some people who are more advanced now the idea of periodization. And this is a really powerful system of planning out your year that can be really fulfilling, and it could be something that you can do way into the future. It's got a lot of sustainability to it. And for those people who've maybe done planning, used planners, it's in alignment with that, but I can help a lot with that. All right, I really appreciate everyone who've persevered this so far. If you're still listening to this, you're a legend. All right, I'll talk to everyone soon. Take care.